Hello there. Hi, I'm Monica Hammond, founder of Broadway Murder Mysteries, and I am a die-hard murder mystery fan. Hopefully you are too. I've been hosting and writing murder mystery parties for almost a decade. I started out writing them for my friends every year for Halloween. I've written probably a dozen murder mysteries or more at this point. And it's just been so much fun, and it's been a great chance to create a party for my friends that I look forward to every single year. And they talk about it throughout the whole year. So, and my background, just so you know, is I work in marketing for Broadway shows. So I'm also a huge theater fan. I went to school for theater. I was an actor for many years. I've written plays. So that is the expertise that I bring to Broadway Murder Mysteries as well. So why host a murder mystery party? Well, it brings people together, and especially during the pandemic right now and year round, it's a great chance to get together and do more than just, have a happy hour or just chat. It's a fun activity. You get to use your brain. You got to think about, figure out who solved the crime and figure out who is the murderer. And when you're done watching this short video series, you will be able to host an epic murder mystery party of your own that people will talk about for years to come. And here's just an example of a couple folks that have hosted some of our murder mystery parties. This woman, Jane, sent me an email. This is a screenshot of the email. I just wanted to thank you for creating this. It allowed us to connect with family and friends and forget the world for a couple of hours. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with Broadway Murder Mysteries. And this person, Adam Jaffe, who he said that he's a Schubert usher and a Broadway fanatic. He loves live theater, so do I. And he said, thank you so much for helping us create a memorable experience. And again, that's what I want for all of you who want to host a murder mystery party, either in person or on Zoom or via video chat. And here's just a few more examples of some happy folks who have hosted. I love getting all of these photographs either by email or on social media and seeing people dress up. I love the lady there. She's wearing a leotard that looks like it has chest hair on it. So you just never know what your friends are going to come up with when you play a murder mystery party. It's a chance to be silly, let loose, and have some fun. So what about you? If you're watching this video series, you are probably considering hosting a murder mystery party, but maybe you're not quite sure how. It might seem a little daunting. It might seem like it's time consuming, but I promise you we can keep it super simple. It doesn't have to take more than about 20 or 30 minutes probably in total to plan your whole party. And of course you can go crazy. You can order costumes and props and decorate your whole house and have a whole menu or special cocktail that goes along with your party. But if you want to keep it simple, it is really just as fun. So one of the questions that I get most frequently is, where do I start? I know when you buy our murder mysteries, you get a whole bunch of content, all these different things that you can download and use to play the game. But the first place you should always start is the host guide. Or if you're playing virtually, we also have a virtual host guide. So this breaks down everything from the cast list with some information about each of the characters, the different materials that you'll need to prep, and then everything from how to play the game and how to choose your murderer. Absolutely everything is in this host guide. So the first thing that you really need to do is pick your theme. Now I will admit, there are lots of murder mystery companies out there on the market, but I found when I was trying to host my murder mystery parties for my friends, and why I ultimately decided to write them myself, was that I just didn't like any of the themes. They were kind of boring: Murder on the Train, Murder at the Manor, whatever. I like something a little more theatrical, a little more fun. And as a Broadway fan, I thought I would start by creating Bullets on Broadway, which was my very first murder mystery that I launched with this company. And also, all of our murder mysteries are narrated by Broadway actors. So that's also another really fun way to make this party even more fun for your guests. So picking your theme, you should think about, first of all, what you're interested in. As a Broadway person, I would choose the Broadway one. But if you are a drag fan and all your friends watch RuPaul's Drag Race or something, Drama at Drag Brunch would be a good option. We have a theme. The Wet n Wild was a spoof of the Netflix show The Tiger King. We have a circus one, 80s, whatever. There's, a theme for every kind of party. Another thing you should keep in mind is the age of your group. Now, a lot of our mysteries are written for, I usually say 18 and up, but I would say they're probably all appropriate for 13 and up. You can also feel free to look at the different character descriptions. We have them on every page of our website, has all the characters written out. And you can get a sense, like in Bullets on Broadway, there's a character named Sienna Steeler who drinks and does pills. So maybe she's not appropriate to cast a 12-year-old, but there certainly are other characters that you can. And all of our mysteries, you can, use any combination of characters. So age, interest, and your relationship with these people. If these are coworkers, maybe pick one that's a little bit more appropriate, or not. I don't know where you work. So yes, pick your theme, pick one that works well for you. The next thing is to pick your people. Now you might have people in mind, a group of friends that you want to host the murder mystery for. I tend to choose the same people over and over again that are in one part of my friend group. Every Halloween we throw this murder mystery party and it's just so much fun. How many people can you invite? Well, all of our games are meant to be played by 3 to 20 people. Now, I would say that they're most fun when there's at least 6 people playing, 6 to 20 people. And this can take, we estimate it takes around 10 minutes per person to play the game. So if you have 6 players, it'll take roughly an hour. Now, if you're a bunch of friends and you take breaks in between rounds, and you do shots and you drink and you hang out and you chat, then maybe it'll take a little bit longer. But we say 10 minutes per player. Now, there's also a way to play with more than 20 people. If you have a big group of people, what you can do, anyone who doesn't fit into the first 20 people, you can have just be a detective. And you could actually have them be the ones who ask questions of the different characters and try to get the information out. They can also read the detective script. And of course, also try to pick out who the killer is at the end and make their guesses. So there's still ways to include people in groups of more than 20. So the next thing you need to do is pick your date and time. So maybe you have a date set. Maybe it's a birthday party. These are really popular for birthdays. Maybe it's Halloween or a reunion or an office party, something like that. So you might have a date set. If you don't, there's a free app called doodle.com. You can go to doodle.com/create. And that's a way to, you essentially poll all of your friends. You create a list of different dates and times, and you poll them, and it pretty much aggregates the best date and time for your group. So that's one way to figure it out easily without having to send a million emails back and forth. And of course, real quick, the host can also play. So definitely when you're trying to figure out how long the party's gonna last, if you have 10 people plus you, that's 11, so that'll be roughly 110 minutes. So what, almost 2 hours. So the next thing is figuring out who to cast as what characters. And again, it's totally flexible because all of our games can be played with any combination of characters. So you can look at the host guide, read the character names and the character descriptions and see if there's, my friend Mary's playing and she'd be really great as Idina Mental, this crazy drama queen. So you just figure out who you think is best in what roles, and try to give people characters that they'll have a lot of fun with. That's really the key. So we are going to talk about preparing your materials. Again, it might seem a little overwhelming. You don't know where to start. It is a little bit different for in-person events versus virtual, so we'll cover both. And again, start with your host guide because everything you need is in that host guide. So where do you start? If you're playing virtually, then first you need to set up a Zoom meeting or a different way of hosting virtually. I'm going to say we're going to play with Zoom. So you can go to zoom.us, and then you'll be able to select host a meeting with video on. So this allows everyone to be able to see each other playing and interacting. So I've taken some quick screenshots here directly from Zoom. See if you have my cursor here. If you this will pop up when you see host a meeting on Zoom. This little plus button will help you start a new meeting. This will pop up. You can name your party, Monica's Murder Mystery Party, whatever your name is, whatever your party is. You set the date, you set the time, and then if you want any advanced options, those are there too. You can, automatically record it if you want to, and people are comfortable with that. But yeah, and then you hit schedule. Once you schedule, you'll be able to just copy and paste the invitation information. So that's like your Zoom link and the password as well. So makes it super easy to host your virtual meeting. So next is preparing the actual game materials. So what do you need to send people in advance? So I recommend drafting an email, one email that you're going to copy and paste and send to everybody. So that'll be, hey, so-and-so, you're invited to the mystery. Here's all the details and what you need to prepare. So for an in-person murder mystery, you need to give them the date and time, the location, which would probably be your house or some sort of event space. They need to just know their character name, their character description, and then any costume suggestions. Now, most of our mysteries come with costume suggestions. If they don't have them in there specifically, then people can certainly get creative. You're, of course, welcome to suggest things as well. Now, if you're playing virtually, people need to do a tiny bit more in terms of preparing in advance. It's just, again, the date and time, the Zoom meeting info with the link and password, or whatever software you're using to host it virtually. They need their character name and description, costume suggestions, but then you also need to send them their character booklet, which is provided in everything that we send you, and the question menu, which is also provided. Now, all of these documents are really clearly labeled when you download our game, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Tips for hosting in person. So one way to make it really, really fun for people is to plan a menu or maybe even a dinner party around the theme. Every year, like I said in the last video, I host a Halloween party with a different murder mystery that I've written, and we try to plan the menu around that. So one year we did a camp theme, which we also have a camp theme available. And we made camp food, so like sloppy joes, and I think we had hot dogs and hamburgers, and just all the kind of stuff that you would find at camp. And you can time it really nicely since there's 3 rounds to play in the game. If you have 3 courses, appetizer, entree, and dessert, it fits really well with the flow of the game. And it can also give people a nice chance to have breaks in between each round and chat and drink and have fun. We also have several playlists created, so you can simply click the link or copy and paste the link into Spotify, and you'll have a Broadway playlist, a drag queen playlist, and there's a few others as well. Something else I like to do when hosting in person is creating a custom party cocktail. So one that I did for one Halloween that was really fun was I took Bloody Mary mix, put it into a rubber glove, and I froze that overnight. Then I took it out for the party. I filled a giant bowl with a handle of vodka. This is not for the faint of heart. And I put that Bloody Mary mix frozen mixture looking like a bloody hand into the vodka. And over the night, the Bloody Mary mix kind of mixed in with the vodka. And I will say, warning, it was very strong to start with. And then it got a little less strong as the party went on, but that was really fun. And then of course you can decorate your space for the theme. So I always like to have like a makeshift body bag. You don't have to take it that far, but I think it's fun because people come in and like, oh my gosh, there's a dead body. Because at the start of every game, the person is already dead. So that's another fun thing that you can do. And you can just get that on Amazon. I think we might have a link for it on our website as well. So tips for hosting virtually. Obviously, you can't get quite as crazy with the menu and the soundtrack and all of that, but there's a few things that you can do to make it super fun. I provide Zoom background images with every single one of my murder mysteries. So usually there's a few different options that go along with the theme. So that's just something like right here, this is my office, but you could have, you know, red curtains behind you or some crazy 80s patterns behind you. And that's a really fun way to make it special. You could also coordinate a menu or cocktails with your guests so that everybody's drinking a similar thing throughout the evening. And definitely encourage people to dress up. If they don't feel like getting fully dressed up, you can at least dress up from the waist up. And that could, simple things people could do is wear a hat, some special glasses, play with facial hair, wigs, things like that can really make it, you know, that much more special and fun. So what do you need to print to prepare for your party? So it's the day of your event or the night of your event. If you're in person, you're going to want to print a character packet for every single person who's playing. So if you have 10 people playing with, 10 different characters, you're just going to need to print those. You don't need to print any of the others that aren't playing. It's also good to have a few question menus laying around. I don't think you need one for every person, but a few to hand around so people can easily take one and ask a question. You'll need to print out the evidence booklet. the evidence documents. It's nice to have a copy of the host guide handy as well, so you could print that out for yourself. And optional, but it's fun to print the awards as well. And you can hand out awards at the end of your party. Now, if you're hosting virtually, there's a little less to print. So you can choose to print your own character packet, a copy of the question menu, a copy of the virtual host guide. You should print the evidence documents, and that's all you really need. Another way to do it is you can also just have this all on your computer. So you're just looking, at the screen. So you have your people on Zoom to the left and your documents to the right. That's actually how I like to play virtually. So that's it. That's really all you have to prepare in advance of your party, playing the game. One question that I get quite frequently is, what happens if someone bails last minute? So this does happen. And in a lot of murder mystery games, it can really mess up your night, because if someone who's crucial to the story, can't come, then you have to find someone last minute, or someone has to play two characters. But that's not an issue with my murder mysteries. They're all meant to be totally flexible. You can play with any number of people and any characters. So if one person can't make it last minute, it's okay. You just play without them. How do you assign the murderer? In person, it's really easy to assign the murderer. We include these who did it slips. You simply print them out, cut them up, and literally every single person in the party will pick one of the slips, and one slip says you are the murderer, and the rest say you are not the murderer, and then give a number. Now, the numbers are important. You will need them for the end of the game. People should hang on to their slips, or at least just remember their number. Now, how to assign the murder virtually. This is something that people have struggled with, and I'll admit, I struggled with it too, because playing virtually was a new thing, trying to figure out how to make this easy for people, and also so that the host who's assigning all the information also doesn't know, because it's more fun if you don't know who the killer is. So I am working on a very cool text solution for my website where you'll be able to just select the number of players, put their email addresses in, and then it will automatically send them innocent 1, innocent 2, innocent 3. So they get their numbers, they know if they're guilty, and the murderer will say they're the murderer. So that is coming. Until then, I have a new solution that's still pretty easy. This is what I would recommend. Start a Google spreadsheet or some sort of shareable spreadsheet. If you have 10 people playing, you would write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just like here on the screen, one for each person. Then you create a link for that, which is super easy in Google, share it to everybody who's at the party. So this will be one of the very first things that you do when people sign on to the Zoom party. Send them this link and say, go in, put an X next to one of the numbers. So you're claiming that number, but no one knows who's claiming what. So let's say it's my turn, I go in and I X number 4. I'm number 4. Then once the whole thing, everything has an X next to it, you, as the host, you could literally pull out of a hat one of the numbers, or you could just make up a number. So it's gonna be number 9 is the killer. So everyone knows their number, which again is important for the end of the mystery, but nobody knows, including you, who everyone has. I know it sounds a little complicated. I promise it's pretty easy. All right, so now you know how to assign your murderer, which is very important. Now, how to play the game. Again, it can look a little complicated, but it's really easy. It's really just, there's a round of introductions, then 3 rounds of evidence and questions and answers, and then final statements. That's the whole game. So the final statements are when you're going to need your numbers. And I'll get to there at the end of this video so you'll know exactly what to do. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Starting the game. You've chosen your murderer at random, so only the murderer knows that they're the murderer. Nobody else knows. So everybody else knows that they're innocent. So throughout the game, everyone has their character booklet, and there's rounds of question and answers, and everyone has an answer based on whether or not they're guilty or innocent, and they are different. So the murderer, their guilty questions have some other information and clues and language in there that could help you probably figure out that they might be the murderer. So if you're innocent, you would read the innocent track throughout the book. If you're guilty, you read the murderer track. So how do you start the game? The very first thing you need to do is play the introduction video or read the introduction section of your evidence booklet. They're the same thing. I highly recommend doing the videos because it's narrated by Broadway actors, which is really fun. So everyone has their booklet. They open it up to the first page when you tell them to. They can read over the information that they have about themselves, including some secret information that nobody else knows that could give some insight into why they could be the killer, whether or not they are. So you listen to the introduction, and then everyone takes turn just reading their introduction paragraph. So everybody gets to know a little bit about who each character is, maybe what their motive is, maybe where they were when the murder took place. So you start to get a little information. Then you start Act 1. You always start with the video. So it's the Act 1 evidence video. The detective will come on and give some sort of piece of evidence. And then it's time for your first round of questions and answers. So that's where the question menu comes in. Every character gets asked, it has a question on there that's asked of them. So let's say it's my turn, I start, I ask Idina Mental, one of the characters, the question. She answers based on whether or not she's innocent or guilty in her booklet, and then it's her turn to ask another character a question. So she takes the question. And the killer and the stories could be different, and so on until everyone has been asked and answered a question. So that's how you play. And then there's Acts 2 and 3, which are played exactly the same way. Evidence video, question and answers. Evidence video, question and answers. And again, if you feel like taking a break between, at the end of those question and answer segments is a great chance to just take a break, have some drinks, chit chat, whatever you feel like doing. So now you've played Acts 1, 2, and 3. It's time to end the game. That's so sad. It's already over. I know, it goes by so fast. So after Act 3 has been played, everyone has been asked all their questions and they've all answered. It's time to end the game. And everyone should guess who they think the murderer is. So there's a couple ways to try to deduce who the killer is each time you play. One is the evidence provided. It's also, and maybe even more importantly, the answers throughout the game. Like I said, there's different language and answers that are used if you're guilty versus if you're innocent. So really listen to the words that people are saying throughout the game, because you might be able to figure it out that way. And another thing is people's behavior. Now, the murderer is certainly supposed to keep it secret and not give anything away, but I'm sure that you could figure it out based on how people are behaving as well. So that's 3 ways to try and figure out who the killer is. So everyone says who they think it is, and then it's time for final statements. So it's time to use those numbers, finally. So every player has a final statement if they're guilty or they're innocent. You need to read them in numerical order. If you're playing in person, the whodidit slips tell you what number you are and the number in which to read them, and the murderer goes last. Pretty easy. If you're playing virtually, then everybody still has a number, and you need to read them in order, except everyone also knows the number that was chosen for the murderer. So you just move that to the very end. So let's say there's 5 people playing, number 2 is randomly chosen as the murderer, then you read in the order of 1, 3, 4, 5. Number 2 goes last, they're the murderer. And that's how you play. That's it. It's pretty simple. When you look at your materials, it can look complicated, but it's very easy to plan, put together, and play. So at the very end, you're welcome to give out awards for Best Actor, Actress, Improv, Costume. I think we have a few others in there that are really fun to give out. If you don't feel comfortable giving out awards, that's totally optional. At this time, you could either, if you're playing virtually, you could either hang out and chit chat with folks, or you can sign off, and that could be the end of your party. If you're playing in person, the end of the game, it's a great chance to have dessert or continue having some drinks and hanging out with your friends. And all of our mysteries are meant to be played over and over and over again. So they're great for game nights, for example, because you can get one mystery and play it a dozen times, and the killer and the stories could be different every single time. Thank you so much again, and be well.